want to introduce the members of our next panel discussion. We will be welcoming Mr. Dennis Magbatok. He's the Assistant VP and CRM Head for Regional Luzon of PLDT Enterprise. We've also got with us Mr. Kirthi Dashnamurthy. He is the Business Development Director for Asia Pacific Cloud and Cognitive Service, Nokia. Again, delegates, please keep all of those questions coming. All right, I'm going to be pulling out some questions for you. All right, the first question from the floor here goes to Dennis of PLDT Enterprise. How might we help manufacturing companies and its employees transition towards a more connected and automated factory floor? Which areas do we transform first, and what role does 5G play in smart manufacturing? Those are three questions that this person just put into one. Go ahead.
Thank you, Danny, and good afternoon to everyone. On your first question, understanding the full workflow and see which tasks can be automated or remotely managed, and then finding the right technology that could help transform the operations. We should also consider information security or cybersecurity in this equation, considering that it's a key criterion for companies who are considering automation or IoT solutions. That should be a better approach, Danny, in automating a factory floor. It's not an overnight thing or a templated one. It requires full collaboration between PLDT Enterprise and a manufacturing company or any customer at all. For PLDT's end, we could leverage on our cybersecurity capabilities to offer comprehensive protections, not just on the network, but also on application layers. On the 5G play, you mentioned that also. 5G will be able to transmit data 20 times faster than 4G or LTE. Let me just repeat that, Danny. 20 times faster than 4G or LTE. 5G will be able to bring data insights and operational efficiency to the factory floor and the supply chain. With 5G and IoT, maintenance now becomes a fast-paced and automated practice. This fosters a reduction in cost over traditional preventive repair measures. It also significantly reduces downtime, therefore preventing stalls in production. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you for that. So can we divide the working time by 20 as well to say, okay, the work hours have now been reduced. We can relax a little bit more. But thank you. I guess your points on efficiency there and how looking at which parts of the floor are best automated is a very good answer to this question. Let's move on to Mr. Kirthi. This is a question from the floor. IoT has been around for some time, and it has generated a lot of hype. Do you believe it has lived up to the expectation? And how does Nokia see IoT growth going forward? Is it as cool as we were hoping it would be, and now that it's already here?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here. I think let me start giving it by a couple of insights so that we can all collectively make the judgment call. We're talking about the GSMA recent report, talking about 1.8 billions of connections are already there in Asia Pacific. This is excluding China. And then that's going to grow into 3.3 billion by 2025. And then if you look at the other part of the report, we're talking about the enterprises. Last year, they're talking about 60% or 58% of the enterprises trying to adopt to this IoT. Now they're talking about 64% of the enterprises looking into adopting the IoT. So there was a lot of hype around it, but 1.8 billion would have never been possible without that hype. So hype is always helping the market. And if you look at it from the Nokia view perspective, IoT is happening in a very multi-dimensional way. You're talking about B2B, the enterprises, talking about the manufacturing, adapting to this IoT. And then there's also a consumer play of IoT. It either could be a direct consumer play or it could be a B2B2C sort of a play. Then if you look at it from where it's happening, it is like not only local, but it's also happening on a global level, right? For example, a connected car, it could be a global IoT, but if it is a smart meter that's happening in Philippines, it's more of a local, national level of IoT. So IoT is happening in multitude and multidimensional way, and it's expanding ever before. And if you look at it from the pandemic perspective, it just only accelerated this adaptation of IoT. And you can talk about on and on about multiple verticals and use cases, and even manufacturing. If you talk about it, it is not more anymore talking about connected factories, and now they're talking about connecting multiple factories in multiple locations within national and also on a global scale. So I think the future is bright, and we all need to be understanding that how the pandemic has really changed the world, and as the previous panelists were talking about, it is just a mandatory thing that most of the enterprises needs to do to make it happen.
Thank you. So a lot of hype and then boom, pandemic. And here's what has to happen. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to Dennis. This is a good question. Is 5G connectivity really imperative to build or transition to a smarter factory, or can you start with the current technology that they have and then maybe later on, transition?
Connectivity in itself, Danny, plays a vital role in transforming any business operations. With 5G's improved latency and reliability, IoT devices will more efficiently transmit data to automation systems and allow for overall control of machinery amid production processes. Real-time transmission of data allows for remote production control and centralized supervision over machinery. Data obtained through distant control provides clearer and faster insights into the actual production field. In addition, 5G has driven the industrial AR/VR technology, and again, the pandemic has accelerated the applications. Manufacturing companies are increasingly considering AR/VR for remote maintenance of their equipment to shorten resolution time and reduce cost instead of flying engineers to a work site.
Okay, so it's here, it's now. You might as well take advantage of it instead of wait. As you mentioned, there's a lot of use cases for it already. And finally, last question here from the floor that we can take. This one is for Kirti. Talking about manufacturing, this is specific to Nokia. What do you see as the role of IoT and of Nokia Wing?
I think the manufacturing is really going through the big shift in there. Again, just the data insights, 400 million connections now today is going to grow into 4 times to 1.6 billion by 2025. So when you're talking about this, especially about the manufacturing, there are 2 parts to it. The way that Nokia sees it, or the entire industry is seeing it. It is the part one is more about what is happening within the manufacturing floor itself in terms of automating them and connecting with IoT and so on. And then the goods getting produced in that smart manufacturing facility and how it is going to get connected and outside of that manufacturing facility throughout this whole supply chain logistics, and even to an extent where this, for example, if it's the car, then how the car is getting delivered and how it's being used after sales market, for example. So we see that from manufacturing point of view, it's a 2-part. One is happening within the factory and what is happening outside of the factory. From Nokia perspective, we have delivered this Wing solution to all but IoT network grid, and we have been extremely proud and glad that we have partnered with Smart to bring in the solution to enterprises in Philippines, and especially the manufacturing and the previous panel were discussing about it. So it really requires the reliable, secure connectivity to really manage it in the real time, because the IoT is more like an oxygen to really make the connectivity is more of an oxygen towards an IoT. So we are talking about, the Wing solution can help not just only on the local, smart factory or smart manufacturing plant, but also the goods getting produced there. We can always get connected, whether it is deployed in Philippines or across the globe. The connectivity is always be maintained. And that is the key to start the IoT. And then from there, anything can be built on top of it. You talk about all the transport, logistics, and supply chain. All can be then, seamlessly be enabled with this global connectivity. And that's where exactly Nokia plays the role in helping those manufacturing industries.
Excellent answers. Excellent answers, gentlemen. Thank you so much, of course, Mr. Dennis and Mr. Kirti, for joining us today.